Thank you. Um, Before I launch into presenting on our house project, I'll just put a bit of a qualifier there. Our house is often described as a 10-star home. And yes, it is a 10-star NatHERS rated home. But I think it's worth just stopping and sort of unpacking what that means. So NatHERS, which of course is the National Housing Energy Rating Scheme, really is just limited to the energy required to make a home thermally comfortable. And the reason why the focus is on that thermal energy requirement is because typically heating and cooling energy loads are the dominant loads in a typical Australian residential dwelling. Okay, but it's actually a very narrow definition for energy efficiency, which also includes things like hot water heating as typically the next highest demand, other appliances and lighting. But it's an even more narrow definition of what a sustainable home should be, which of course encompasses many other things. Water efficiency, biodiversity, waste management, food production. These are all very important sustainability goals that we need to be thinking about in the design, the build, and the operation of our homes. And that's what I hope to share with you tonight, how we've addressed all of those concurrent goals with the design and build and the operation of our family home. You can see we have two houses on the property. My family home is at the back, and my sister-in-law lives in the front. And yes, that actually works. We all get on just fine. And the reason we did this is that we were both at a point in our lives where we were ready to buy our first home. And it's expensive to do that. And we found the most cost-effective and practical way was to buy a block, co-design it, getting professional help, that's important, subdivide it, and build two homes at the same time. We also saw it as an opportunity to not only build the family home of our dreams, but also to demonstrate a number of things that we felt were very important. And one of those is that high performance homes, which is a term I like to use, which are homes that are thermally more comfortable, more efficient, and water efficient, are cost effective and practical to build now by the volume industry. They don't have to be some out of reach architectural edifice, highly complex. They can be simple because they can draw on well-established principles that have been around for a very, very long time. So this is our design. North is the top of screen. So here they follow the well-established principles of solar passive design, which is a term that's different to passive house, which we'll hear about later. They are very complementary in many respects, but there are other attributes to passive house design, which we'll hear in due course. These are solar passive homes that are designed to be on an east-west axis, maximising the northern aspect for solar gain, so we have warming winter light coming in. But by working with the sun angles and understanding those, we exclude unwanted summer sun. We then look at the incorporation of thermal mass to make the homes internally stable, appropriate shading, good insulation, and of course designed for cross ventilation. So that's why the location of the homes where they are is very important. You'll also see that we have located the homes on the block in such a way where we've maximised outdoor space. We've kept the homes compact, smaller than the average of a new home like this, still 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom and a home study, but they're around 30% smaller than a typical new home at around 160 square metre footprint. And that has meant that we have highly valuable outdoor spaces, which of course are part of a home. That's space for outdoor living, outdoor play, shade. The homes are also designed to be responsive to universal access design requirements. That is, the homes are designed to be accessible by people with mobility challenges. And let's face it, whether we're unfortunate to have a permanent disability, or we have a short-term injury, or like all of us, we get old, our homes need to be designed to accommodate this, to be inclusive. And there are simple guidelines which require doors to be slightly wider, flush thresholds, hobless showers, good circulation spaces in kitchens, simple things. A toilet to be accessible by someone in a wheelchair, even if simple modifications are required in the event of that being needed. These are things that are not yet in the National Construction Code, yet we have an ageing population. We also consider the healthy homes principles. How do we design the home to be healthy inside through the use of appropriate products and the like? So again, all simple things, but I wanted to flag these. We need to look well beyond just the star rating of a home and think about these important considerations. The lot layout, before I take you into a series of photos, just so you have your bearings, we have the landscaping taking us from the front verge, down the driveway to a shared food garden in between the two homes, private north-facing courtyard garden spaces. You'll see there's no internal fences. Instead, we've used landscaping through things like vines on trellis or shrubs and trees to provide a sense of privacy. And that is so there's a greater sense of space within the property, but also to ensure that we don't block important cross ventilation. And this is the climate sensible design, I guess, drivers, really. You can see here we've got the home design for that warming winter sun and then shielding from the hot summer sun, working with those solar angles. And those solar angles are here to stay. If they change, we really are all stuffed, okay? So that's kind of long-term stuff that we can design to. And then it's cross-ventilation, understanding where the prevailing cooling winds come from and designing the home to be able to capture those breezes, not only to flush stale air out, but also to cool down that internal thermal mass. And that's what we use in summertime to cool down the house. And then we use deciduous trees and vines on the northern side to make sure we capture that solar gain. I mentioned the term thermal mass. That simply means hard and heavy, dense stuff. It's a concrete slab, brick walls. And thermal mass can be highly effective at helping your house be comfortable. It can also be highly effective at turning your home into a crock pot and baking you. So we need to use that mass strategically. Essentially, you want to protect it from the outside influences of temperature extremes. You want to be able to control both the warming and the cooling energies that come from sun and wind to keep that nice and stable internally. So we have a slab on ground concrete floor, internal brickwork, and we then start to look at how do we insulate. Walling types are important. In our house, we've got brick internal walls. We have reverse brick veneer walls on the outside. So you'd all be familiar with brick veneer. It's typically used, you have your fancy brick on the outside and then you have the timber frame on the inside, insulation in between. Well, reverse brick veneer just reverses that detail. You have the brick on the inside where you want the mass, and then you have the timber framing and the lightweight cladding on the outside that doesn't heat up as much. And it's particularly important, both in our climate type and yours, to protect that eastern and western aspects that get the hot morning and afternoon sun. And you can put all that insulation in between to keep that internal mass isolated from the outside. And then on the south side, we just used timber frame. We didn't need the mass for the thermal performance in those southern rooms. So we have wall insulation, where we do have just double brick for some limited areas, mainly to the north around the window framing, because it's very cost effective. We use a simple reflective closed cell insulation. And then we have the bulk insulation, and again, the reflective closed cell for both the reverse brick veneer walls and the standard timber frame walls. We then to look at the roofing, and firstly go for a light-coloured, lightweight roof that reflects heat and doesn't hold on to it. But then put our first layer of insulation under that roof sheeting. And this is Anticon. This is very simple stuff. It has both a bulk layer and a reflective layer. And that helps not only with stopping heat at that first layer of the building fabric, it also helps to reduce condensation in the attic, which makes sense from an air quality perspective to reduce molds and mildews. It also means that we can use that roof cavity for attic space, which we do for storage, which has meant we've been able to make the house smaller because we have storage space up top rather than down below. All these things start to layer up. We then have ceiling insulation, which is pretty conventional glass fibre batts, 4.5, perfect for Perth's climate, laid down in between the roofing battens. And isn't that the neatest roof cavity you've ever seen? There's nothing like having cameras on a building crew to make sure that they leave things nice and tidy. We, of course, documented the whole build on our video series that I'll mention at the end. We also need to insulate our windows, and we can do that either with high quality, high performance glazing, like double glazing and even triple glazing if the climate requires it. Perth's climate doesn't. If we have our windows in the right place and we zone the home properly, here we've used just what they call low E high performance glass, which helps with reducing radiant heat transfer. Now that's fine for summer, but in winter we need some additional heat loss protection. And in this case, the most cost-effective way to do that with that expansive glazing was, guess what? Good old-fashioned curtains. But thick curtains, 2-layered that trap air in between, and also pelmets. You can see that device up top. Now that's called a hidden pelmet, not the old-style pelmets that our grandparents had, which of course tend to freak out most modern interior designers. These hidden pelmets do the same job. They help trap that layer of air. So provided they're closed, that window is beautifully insulated. And we have those on all of the windows in those living spaces. You'll see there that photo was taken in the middle of winter with the low angle. It's a north-facing window for that zoned northern living area, kitchen, living, dining. You can see the low-angled winter sun pouring in, heating up that slab. You walk on that in bare feet in winter and it feels like you've got underfloor heating. It is just so effective. We then look to energy generation. We've covered off on the major considerations around energy efficiency, firstly by not requiring air conditioning because of the performance of the home. We have a highly efficient hot water heating through an electric heat pump, and then of course just sensible energy efficient appliances and LED lighting, common stuff these days. We have rooftop solar to provide our energy needs, 6.6 kilowatt PV array, and a 5 kilowatt inverter and a 10 kilowatt hour battery. We also harvest rainwater. So we have a 20,000 litre tank, which we collect water from the entire roof, and then a simple pump and filtration system. And that rainwater is used for all of our internal demands. Okay, so we have a good roof catchment management approach. We have filtration and UV disinfection. We also reuse our grey water, which of course is household wastewater that hasn't come into contact with toilet or kitchen water. So it's shower, it's laundry, hand basins, bath. This is a simple filtration system, which is then pumped through a drip line, which goes to our specific parts of the garden. We also have a shared bore between the two homes. Perth is fortunate to have a superficial aquifer in parts of the coastal plain, including where we are. This is recharged each year by stormwater infiltration. So our whole property is designed as a sponge to capture that water, and so we know what the local recharge is, so we can have a sustainable abstraction model with that. And we use that to irrigate things like a small patch of lawn for cooling and kids' play, for extensive vegetable production, and also for pots, things where grey water is not suitable for, nor do we have the volume of grey water to do that, because the more water efficient you are in the home, both through efficient fixtures and appliances, but also good low water use behaviour, the less grey water you generate. And of course, landscaping is a key part of all of this. It's an important part of keeping a home comfortable. You should never underestimate the impact of landscaping on the thermal performance of a home, both keeping it cool and having it warm in winter. So here you've got that northern aspect, and you saw the interior photo of the living area in both summer and winter. We have shade sails for our main shade structure, and I went for shade sails because that's something you can put up when you want to and take down, complete control over the shading. and then we soften that with grapes as well. It's risky relying just on vines like grapes because you get a bad season of mildew, which gardeners would know all about, and they can defoliate midway through summer. Disaster. Okay. And with tree selection as well, you need to be mindful about leaf fall timing. And in a mild climate like Perth, many trees don't lose all their leaves at the time you want to, when you want to start getting that late autumn solar gain. Some lose their leaves much later into the season. So we incorporate deciduous trees in the landscape, but not as our major shade provider, supplementary shade, if you like. So I'll take you through a tour through the garden to see how these things work. So this is that eastern side of the house. This is the verge that I mentioned in the front yard. Here we've focused on native plantings for their low water use, their biodiversity value, but also providing evergreen shade to that eastern side. Okay, we don't need to be mindful of blocking any winter sun at that angle because the winter sun doesn't touch it. It's in a much narrower arc. So this low water use landscaping is also deep rooted, so it's still getting down and accessing deep soil moisture and transpiring that, which helps with the local microclimate. You can see the driveway there is gravel, and it's gravel over a plastic drainage cell, which provides that structural stability, so the gravel and the tyres don't sink into the sand. But it means that all the stormwater that lands goes into the soil straight away. No need for soak wells. No need for any stormwater running into the street drainage system. We want that moisture on the property. Small regular events are recharging soil moisture, which all the plants tap into. So the fruit tree trellis down the driveway or the ground covers down the strip of the driveway there are all relying on that moisture, and it means the root zone is in much better condition. You'll see there also no fences between the driveway and the front house, just screens over key privacy areas planted with vines. This is the shared food garden in between. So we have a series of beds laid out. Hopefully those of you who watch Gardening Australia would have seen lots of my stories, both building this garden on the show, but also maintaining it. And it's here in the space in between where we have veggies, composting systems, chickens, our little nursery, lots of fruit trees, and of course, it's where I spend as much time as possible. Our home has been a living lab for over 5 years now, and through a collaborative research project involving the CRC for Low Carbon Living, and also Curtin University, who I have a research fellowship with. We not only documented the whole process to share our journey with industry and the community, but we've also been undertaking detailed performance monitoring now for 5 years and are continuing that into the foreseeable future. And this has been about trying to establish an evidence base behind these ideas, which are well tested. They're not unique. I think what this project has done well has been to assemble many well-tested ideas into a really neat package, okay? And then set about documenting it properly and collecting data on it, okay? And this is what makes it something special. But having this evidence base is so critical. So here's a running line graph of the inside temperature of that main living area versus the outside temperature at midday each day. And I've chosen midday. This is a simple data point to show you how the house is performing. Of course, you can jump onto the website and see real-time temperature data running the whole time if you've got the spare time to do that. But here, what you can see is even on those really hot days, high 30s over multiple days, hitting into 40s, not uncommon in Perth, we're still sitting in the low to mid 20s. And on those colder days too, keeping in mind that this is coming off the back, the coldest it gets in Perth can get down to 2 or 3 degrees, and never below zero because of our location next to the coast. But even at midday with those low temperatures of 10 and 12 degrees, the home is beautifully comfortable in the low 20s. And our energy use. So we're using just under 15 units a day, as opposed to the local average of 22 units a day. So we're seeing about a 40% reduction in energy use just through efficiency. But what I want to make clear is that unlike the typical benchmark comparison of the local area, we're also producing our own water here through the rainwater harvesting and the pumping and treatment that's required for that the grey water pumping, and also the use of the bore. So this is energy use that's not normally captured in other benchmark data. It also includes the energy to charge an electric car, which we've used as part of a study on this project as well. And if you compare that to the parallel bar there, that's showing where the energy for our home comes from. Okay, and this is over a year's data taken down into a daily example to sort of put it in context. So what we're seeing is that we are generating well in excess of the energy we need, but importantly, most of our energy, either from the PVs or the solar, is being used in real time. We've had a 90% reduction in grid energy requirements, with that 10% where we're still using grid power has come from when we need to charge the car at night time, when for practical reasons I'm not able to charge it during the day, where we have surplus solar, as you can see there with the net export data. That means that we are well beyond just net zero. The home is actually an energy factory. And this is what our suburbs can be. They can be the future power plants that are providing energy for community level storage, which is the most cost effective way to do it. And there's no reason why our homes can't be fully electric, fully powered by renewable energy a lot quicker than much of the forecasting is suggesting. Just to wrap up, also our household water use. Perth has one of the highest rates of water consumption of any capital city. We also have the highest energy intensity water supply of any capital city, one of the highest in the world, because we're reliant now on nearly 50% of our scheme water supply coming from seawater desalination. So this is why it's so important for us anyway to demonstrate local water supply when we can do it in a more energy and therefore carbon emission friendly way. We've also had a 90% reduction in mains water use while still sustaining that garden. And when you compare our home to the average Perth house with a bore, keeping in mind that 1 in 4 homes in Perth has a bore, they're very, very common, you can see the gross level of inefficiency with these systems and the opportunities if we design and do this well. If you're keen to find out more about this particular project, we have a website, of course, the details are up there. All of our plans, fact sheets, full video series, research publications, and live data are all available to download and access and share and build with. I would suggest adapting and then build with to suit, all open source and at no cost. And this has been made possible through that research collaboration with the CRC for Low Carbon Living, Curtin University, and a number of industry partners that have supported our research work. And I want to make that clear. This project has been about collaboration. I've been fortunate to draw on the expertise of many professionals, including many trades who harbour such fantastic experience and knowledge, but also have had great support in terms of our research work as well. And that's why we wanted to make the commitment of having all of this information open source to be used at no cost. So hopefully we can really make the most of it. Thanks very much.